Life doesn't always go the way you planned. One moment, everything seems to be falling into place. Then suddenly, you're faced with uncertainty, failure, or unexpected change. You try to regain control, but the more you resist, the more life seems to slip through your fingers. But what if the key isn't control, but trust? Trust that life has its own rhythm. Trust that setbacks aren't the end. They're part of a greater path unfolding. The Stoics believed this deeply. That by accepting what you cannot control and focusing only on what you can, you unlock a powerful kind of calm, one that no chaos can shake. Today, I'll show you how to stop battling the inevitable and start flowing with life's natural current. You'll learn how to build mental resilience, stay calm under pressure, and turn your greatest struggles into stepping stones. This isn't just theory. These are practical insights you can use right now to regain clarity, find peace, and strengthen your mindset. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, anxious, or stuck, know this: you're not alone. And what's ahead may be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may see life in a way that brings you more peace, strength, and confidence than you ever thought possible. 1. Embrace reality and find your inner calm. Life doesn't ask for your permission before it changes course. One day, you feel secure. Your career is stable, your relationships are thriving, and your plans are unfolding just as you imagined. Then suddenly, things fall apart. The job you counted on disappears. Someone you trust lets you down. Or maybe life simply isn't moving as fast as you hoped. In these moments, your mind races, replaying the past, worrying about the future, desperately trying to piece everything back together. But here's the truth. No amount of resistance can rewrite what's already happened. The more you fight reality, the more power you give it over you. Every time you dwell on why this happened or how unfair it is, you're feeding a fire that will only burn you from within. The Stoics understood this well. That true strength begins when you stop demanding that life bend to your will and instead choose to accept it as it is. Acceptance isn't a weakness. It's clarity. When you embrace reality, you take back control, not over the world, but over your mind. This shift changes everything. Suddenly, instead of wasting energy on what's beyond your reach, you focus on what you can influence: your thoughts, your actions, and your next step forward. And that's where the real power lies. I remember a friend of mine, let's call him David. For over 20 years, David built his career as a high-level manager. He was sharp, dedicated, and deeply respected by his team. Then, without warning, his company restructured, and he was let go. It crushed him. He wasn't just losing a job. He was losing his identity, his purpose, and the life he had carefully constructed. At first, David resisted. He spent weeks drowning in frustration, blaming his employer, dwelling on the injustice, and convincing himself that his career was over. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't focus. He couldn't move forward because he refused to accept what had already happened. But one evening, everything changed. He was out walking, aimlessly wandering the streets, when he stopped in front of a construction site. He stood there, watching workers tear down an old building, smashing walls, ripping out windows, demolishing what once stood firm. But then, he noticed something else. Just behind the rubble, there were new materials: steel beams, fresh bricks, and tools, all waiting to build something new. That image struck him deeply. He realized he had been standing in his own mental debris, fixating on what had been destroyed instead of focusing on what he could rebuild. For the first time, he let go of the anger. He stopped fighting what couldn't be changed and began to focus on what was still within his control. He enrolled in online courses, sharpened his skills, and started consulting. Within months, he found himself thriving in a new role, one that gave him more freedom and fulfillment than he'd ever experienced before. Looking back, he realized that losing his job wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something better. But none of it happened until he embraced the reality of his situation. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." David's story is proof of that. Life is unpredictable. People will disappoint you, plans will fail, and sometimes, no matter how much you prepare, things simply won't go your way. But when you stop resisting and start accepting, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion that you can control everything. It's about recognizing that life isn't against you. It's simply unfolding in ways you may not yet understand. Imagine you're caught in a storm. You can curse the rain, scream at the sky, and blame the clouds, but none of that will change the weather. Or you can find shelter, light a fire, and focus on keeping yourself warm. The choice is always yours. When you embrace reality, you become stronger. Not because life gets easier, but because your mind becomes calmer. And when your mind is calm, your decisions are sharper, your actions are wiser, and your spirit becomes unshakable. So ask yourself, what burden are you carrying right now that's rooted in resistance? What would happen if, just for a moment, you chose to stop fighting and instead focused on what's still within your control? The answer may surprise you, because peace doesn't come from fixing everything. It comes from learning how to face anything. 2. Shift your focus from results to resilience. Most people chase outcomes, promotions, praise, achievements, believing that success alone will bring fulfillment. But there's a trap hidden in this mindset. When your happiness depends on results, you become vulnerable. Every setback feels like failure. Every delay feels like defeat. And the more you fixate on what should happen, the harder it becomes to stay calm when things don't go your way. The Stoics warned against this. They knew that true strength doesn't come from controlling outcomes. It comes from mastering your response. Instead of obsessing over results, they focused on what mattered most: effort, discipline, and resilience. When you measure your life by effort rather than results, you reclaim control. You stop chasing things you can't guarantee and start investing in what's always within your reach: your actions, your mindset, your ability to keep going. This shift frees you from the anxiety of uncertainty. Imagine you've been working hard for months, training for a marathon, building a business, or pursuing a promotion. Despite your best efforts, things don't go as planned. The race gets postponed, the business struggles, the promotion goes to someone else. If your focus is only on the outcome, you'll feel crushed, as if all your work was wasted. But what if you measured your success differently? What if you saw every step, every hour of training, every challenge faced, every setback endured as part of your growth? Suddenly, those efforts aren't wasted. They're investments. Each one has strengthened your resilience, sharpened your skills, and prepared you for future opportunities, even if this one didn't unfold as you expected. This mindset isn't just about comfort, it's about power. When you focus on effort, you can't lose. Even when circumstances betray your expectations, you still win. Because growth is guaranteed. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The fruit of this life is good character and acts for the common good." He understood that real success isn't about what you achieve, it's about who you become. Every challenge, every failure, every moment of uncertainty is shaping you. The question isn't whether you'll face adversity, it's whether you'll allow it to strengthen you or destroy you. This is why resilience is so powerful. It's not just about enduring hardship, it's about using hardship as fuel. Each time you push forward despite doubt, you develop a stronger mind. Each time you choose effort over excuses, you sharpen your discipline. Each time you focus on what you can control, instead of dwelling on what you can't, you reinforce your inner strength. But resilience doesn't happen by accident. It's a choice, a conscious decision to keep moving forward, even when progress feels slow or invisible. The Stoics believe that resilience comes from detachment, detaching from results, and instead focusing on the process itself. This doesn't mean giving up ambition or lowering your standards. It means committing fully to your actions while accepting that the outcome is never guaranteed. When you stop tying your self-worth to results, you become untouchable. Success can't inflate your ego, and failure can't break your spirit. Because your focus is always on the one thing you control: what you do next. Think of a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. Every strike of the chisel shapes the stone, yet no single strike completes the masterpiece. The sculptor doesn't expect instant results. He knows that mastery comes from consistency. He trusts the process. The same applies to your life. Each action you take, no matter how small, is shaping you. Every attempt to improve, every decision to show up, every step forward, even when no one's watching, is strengthening your mind. The key is to stop demanding immediate results. Trust that your efforts are building something greater, even when you can't yet see it. If you're struggling right now, feeling stuck, frustrated, or defeated, ask yourself this: are you measuring your life by results or by resilience? Because real strength doesn't come from winning. It comes from refusing to quit. It's in the quiet decision to get up, show up, and keep going, no matter how uncertain the outcome may be. So instead of asking, how long until I succeed, ask yourself, how can I stay consistent no matter what happens? Because when your focus shifts from results to resilience, you stop waiting for life to prove your worth, and you start proving it to yourself. 3. Transform every setback into a stepping stone. Obstacles aren't interruptions, they're instructions. Each challenge carries a message, but most people miss it. They see setbacks as punishment, as proof that they're failing, as signs they should give up. But in reality, hardship isn't there to stop you. It's there to shape you. When things fall apart, your instinct may be to retreat, to question yourself, to wonder if you were foolish for even trying. That's natural. But if you pay attention, you'll realize something else is happening beneath the surface. Each setback reveals something about you: your patience, your courage, your ability to adapt. The more you resist it, the harder it feels. But when you step back and ask, what is this teaching me? You gain power. Pain isn't pointless, it's preparation. The greatest strength is forged in hardship, because that's when you're forced to face yourself. Every failure strips away illusion. Your ego, your pride, your comfort, and what's left is truth. The kind that shows you who you really are. But this only happens if you refuse to collapse when things get hard. Because setbacks don't break you. They reveal you. They expose your limits. But they also highlight your potential. They show you where you're weak, but more importantly, where you can grow. I once knew someone, let's call him Mark. Mark was a craftsman, someone who poured his heart into his work. He spent years perfecting his skills, building a reputation for quality and precision. Then one day a fire swept through his workshop. The tools he had collected for over a decade were gone. His projects, his materials, his blueprints, all reduced to ash. For weeks, Mark did nothing. He sat in silence, staring at the remains of what once defined him. His hands, once busy shaping wood and metal, now felt useless. He convinced himself it was over, that this loss had erased years of progress. But one evening, a friend visited him. He didn't offer advice or empty words of comfort. Instead, he walked Mark back to the charred remains of his workshop and handed him a hammer, the only tool that had survived the fire. Without a word, he turned and walked away. Mark stood there, hammer in hand, staring at what felt like a graveyard of his efforts. But then something shifted. He realized he still had his skills. He still had his ideas, and most importantly, he still had the strength to begin again. Over the next few months, he rebuilt, starting small, one project at a time. And with each new creation, he realized something remarkable. The fire hadn't destroyed his purpose, it had refined it. He became sharper, more efficient, and more creative than ever before. And soon, Mark's work gained more recognition than it had in the past. Not because he avoided hardship, but because he embraced it and used it to improve. When things fall apart in your life, it's easy to believe that the damage is permanent, that you've lost too much to recover. But that's rarely true. What's true is that setbacks are like fires. They burn away what's no longer useful and reveal what's essential. They strip away distractions and expose your core, your values, your strength, your resilience. The Stoics believed that obstacles aren't barriers, they're building blocks. Every challenge is an opportunity in disguise, a chance to grow wiser, stronger, and more prepared for whatever comes next. But this mindset only works if you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, how can I use this? If you're feeling stuck right now, facing disappointment, loss, or frustration, don't waste your energy wishing things were easier. Instead, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Because what's painful today may be preparing you for something greater tomorrow. Every setback carries a hidden gift, but only if you're willing to search for it. 4. Find strength by embracing both joy and pain. Strength isn't built in comfort, it's forged in discomfort, in moments when life feels overwhelming, uncertain, or unfair. The truth is, both joy and pain are necessary. Each one reveals something about you that the other cannot. Joy teaches gratitude. It reminds you to pause, to appreciate what you have, and to celebrate life's fleeting moments. But pain teaches you resilience. It strips away illusions, forcing you to confront your weaknesses and uncover your hidden strengths. Most people crave joy and run from pain. They pursue happiness at all costs, avoiding discomfort as if it's something unnatural. But avoiding hardship doesn't build strength, it weakens you. When you refuse to face discomfort, you become fragile. Minor setbacks feel catastrophic. Small failures feel overwhelming. And instead of learning how to handle pressure, you crumble beneath it. The Stoics understood that to become unshakable, you must embrace both joy and pain, not as enemies, but as partners. They believed that hardship isn't something to fear, it's something to use. Because pain, when faced directly, becomes your greatest teacher. The discomfort you resist today may be exactly what's needed to build the strength you'll rely on tomorrow. The frustration that tests your patience, the challenge that forces you to grow, the setback that demands you rise. These moments aren't random. They're essential. They're shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for whatever lies ahead. But this only happens if you stop resisting discomfort and start embracing it. When you're overwhelmed, ask yourself, what part of me is being tested right now? If you're frustrated, perhaps you're being challenged to develop patience. If you're anxious, maybe life is teaching you to trust what you can't control. If you're facing loss, this may be your opportunity to practice detachment and acceptance. Every difficulty carries an invitation, an opportunity to strengthen what's weak inside you. But most people miss that opportunity because they're too focused on escaping the discomfort instead of learning from it. Imagine you're at the gym, lifting weights. Each repetition burns. Your muscles ache. But that discomfort isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that your body is adapting, rebuilding itself to become stronger. Growth happens because of the resistance, not in spite of it. Life works the same way. When hardship appears, it's not there to destroy you. It's there to condition you. Every struggle is like adding weight to your mental resilience. And each time you push through, you grow stronger. Not just for today, but for the future challenges you haven't yet seen. But here's the key. Strength isn't about enduring hardship alone. It's about learning how to balance that hardship with moments of joy. Too much pain can harden you. Too much comfort can weaken you. True resilience comes from embracing both. The Stoics believed in this balance. They knew that to live well, you must welcome joyfully, without becoming attached to it, and face pain directly, without losing yourself to it. Joy reminds you that life is beautiful. Pain reminds you that you are strong enough to face whatever comes next. If you're going through a difficult season right now, don't rush to escape it. Don't convince yourself that everything must be perfect before you can find peace. Instead, recognize that discomfort is part of the process. Each moment of pain is shaping you. Each hardship is training you. Each struggle strengthens your mind. And when you finally emerge from that season, you won't just feel relieved, you'll feel stronger, calmer, and more confident than ever before. Because true strength doesn't come from avoiding hardship. It comes from learning how to stand firm in the middle of it. So ask yourself, what part of me is growing right now? Because no matter how difficult things may feel, one truth remains. If you face this with courage, you'll come out stronger than you ever imagined. 5. Harness the power of stillness to control your emotions. The strongest person in the room isn't always the loudest. It's the one who knows when to stay silent. Control isn't about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. Most people believe strength is shown through action, reacting quickly, speaking first, or forcing their presence into every conversation. But true strength often looks different. It's the ability to pause, to observe, and to choose your response with intention. When emotions surge, anger, frustration, or fear, your first instinct may be to lash out or defend yourself. But when you react without thinking, you surrender control. You let the situation dictate your behavior instead of choosing how to respond. That's why mastering stillness is so powerful. Stillness isn't weakness, it's power under control. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove themselves. It's the calm presence of someone who can face provocation without being dragged into chaos. This mindset isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about separating yourself from them long enough to decide what's worth your energy. Emotions may flare up, but they don't have to control you. The Stoics believed that your mind, not the outside world, is where strength begins. Imagine you're in a heated argument. Someone insults you, questions your character, or challenges your ideas. In that moment, your pride demands that you strike back. Your ego urges you to defend yourself. But if you give in to that impulse, you lose control. Your words become careless, your emotions cloud your judgment, and your dignity slips away. Now imagine a different response. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause. You breathe. You allow the insult to pass without letting it take root. That pause, that stillness, gives you something invaluable: control. Instead of escalating the conflict, you diffuse it. Instead of becoming emotional, you stay composed. And in that calmness, you gain the upper hand, not through force, but through restraint. A friend of mine, let's call him Eric, once found himself in this situation. He was working as a project manager, overseeing a high-stakes contract for his company. During a crucial meeting, one of his team members openly criticized him, mocking his leadership in front of the entire room. Eric's first instinct was to fire back, to defend his reputation and confront the person head-on. But instead, he stopped. He stayed silent. For a few seconds, the room was tense. People expected him to retaliate. But instead of reacting emotionally, Eric calmly asked one question: "What exactly would you have done differently?" The critic stammered, unprepared for such a measured response. The tension faded. The conversation shifted from blame to finding solutions. And in the end, Eric's silence, that brief moment of stillness, earned him far more respect than any argument could have. When you refuse to react impulsively, you disrupt the pattern that people expect. If someone insults you, they expect anger. If someone tries to provoke you, they expect a reaction. But when you stay calm, you leave them powerless. They're left with nothing to control, nothing to manipulate, nothing to push against. This is why stillness is so powerful. It robs chaos of its energy. But staying calm doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means learning to observe them without becoming consumed by them. The Stoics taught that emotions are like passing storms, intense but temporary. When you pause instead of reacting, you create space for the storm to pass without letting it drag you under. The next time you feel anger rising or anxiety building, stop. Pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Because most of the time, the answer is no. Most conflicts are just noise, distractions that steal your peace. And by refusing to engage, you keep your power exactly where it belongs, in your hands. Strength isn't about winning every argument or forcing your way through life. It's about knowing when to step back, when to breathe, and when to let the silence speak for itself. So the next time someone challenges you, insults you, or tries to shake your calm, pause. Don't respond immediately. Don't give them the reaction they're hoping for. Just sit with your thoughts. Allow your emotions to settle. And remind yourself that true strength doesn't come from being louder. It comes from being wiser. 6. See beyond the moment and gain a new perspective. In difficult moments, your mind often shrinks. Problems feel bigger than they are. Minor setbacks seem catastrophic. A single mistake can make you question your entire path. When you focus too closely on what's going wrong, everything feels urgent, like the whole world is closing in. But step back, and everything changes. Distance reveals what emotion conceals. What once felt overwhelming begins to seem manageable. The anxiety that clouded your mind starts to lift. You realize that this moment, no matter how painful, is just one chapter in a much longer story. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that most of life's struggles aren't caused by events themselves, but by the way we view them. When you narrow your focus to the present hardship, you lose perspective. But when you expand your view, when you remind yourself that life is still unfolding, the pressure eases. Ask yourself this: will this matter a year from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. The frustration you feel today won't even be a memory next month. The argument that left you angry will fade into irrelevance. The setback you're stressing over may eventually guide you towards something better. Shifting your perspective doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means refusing to let them consume you. It means recognizing that what feels permanent now is often temporary. And it means reminding yourself that you've faced challenges before and survived. When you step back, you gain something invaluable: the ability to think clearly. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond with purpose. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you focus on solutions. And instead of drowning in frustration, you remember that hardship, no matter how intense, is always temporary. This mindset is powerful because it allows you to stay calm when things seem uncertain. Instead of panicking, you remind yourself that life rarely unfolds the way you expect. And that's okay. What feels like a failure today may reveal itself as a blessing tomorrow. The Stoics believe that setbacks often carry hidden gifts, lessons you can only see once you stop fixating on the problem itself. They knew that pain sharpens wisdom, that rejection redirects you, and that closed doors often push you toward better paths. That's why the ability to zoom out, to see the bigger picture, is crucial. It prevents you from being trapped in the emotions of the moment. It reminds you that you're not defined by what's happening right now. You're defined by how you respond to it. The next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Imagine yourself 5 years in the future, looking back at this very moment. From that perspective, what would you tell yourself? Would you advise yourself to panic or to stay calm? Would you wish you had wasted time worrying? Or would you see that the situation resolved itself in ways you couldn't predict? When you expand your view, you stop reacting to life as if every problem is permanent. You learn to trust the flow of events, even when they don't seem to make sense right away. Most people panic because they expect life to be predictable. They cling to plans, routines, and expectations, believing they can control everything. But the truth is, life rarely unfolds the way you plan. And that's not a mistake. It's part of the design. Unexpected events, the ones you resist the most, are often the ones that shape you the most. A career that didn't go as planned may push you toward a path that's more fulfilling. A relationship that ended may create space for someone better suited to you. Even losing something you thought you couldn't live without may reveal that you're stronger and more adaptable than you realized. The challenge is learning to trust that process, even when you can't yet see where it's leading. When you cling too tightly to what's familiar, you close yourself off from growth. But when you accept that life is fluid, that uncertainty isn't the enemy but the path itself, you begin to find peace. So when life feels overwhelming, step back. Ask yourself, will this still matter in 5 years? Remind yourself that you've faced storms before, and you're still standing. And most importantly, trust that no matter how chaotic things feel now, everything is still unfolding exactly as it should. Because sometimes the thing you're so desperate to hold on to isn't meant to stay. And sometimes the moment you let go is when you finally start to move forward. 7. Flow with chaos and turn uncertainty into strength. Life is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, there will always be moments when everything feels unstable. When routines break down, when answers aren't clear, when the path you trusted suddenly disappears. Most people fear this chaos. They fight it, resist it, and try to force life back into predictable patterns. But the harder you push against uncertainty, the more overwhelmed you become. The Stoics believed there's a better way, not by resisting chaos, but by learning to move with it. They knew that control is an illusion. The only thing you can truly command is your mind, your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. Chaos itself isn't what destroys people, it's their reaction to it. Anxiety comes from trying to control what you can't. Frustration grows when you demand certainty from a world that rarely offers it. But when you stop resisting uncertainty and choose to adapt, you gain something powerful: resilience. The story of Mark proves this. After losing his workshop to a fire, he felt paralyzed, trapped in the wreckage of everything he'd built. For weeks, he resisted reality. He fixated on what was gone, replaying the past in his mind, convinced he'd lost too much to recover. But the moment he accepted that his old path was gone, when he stopped clinging to what no longer existed, everything shifted. He stopped wasting energy, mourning what he couldn't change, and started focusing on what he could rebuild. That decision gave him strength. It allowed him to step forward, not because life suddenly became easier, but because he let go of the need for it to be predictable. Most people believe peace comes from certainty, from knowing what's next, from having clear answers, from feeling secure. But peace doesn't come from control. It comes from trust. When you trust that you can adapt, that no matter what happens, you'll find a way forward, uncertainty loses its grip. Instead of fearing the unknown, you welcome it as an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The Stoics believe that true calm comes from this mindset. When you stop demanding that life follow your expectations, you free yourself from constant disappointment. You learn to accept that chaos isn't your enemy. It's part of the journey. Imagine you're caught in a powerful current. Panic tells you to swim harder, to fight the flow with everything you have. But the more you resist, the faster you exhaust yourself. Strength comes not from fighting the current, but from learning how to move with it, to use its force to guide you forward rather than pull you under. The same applies to life. Uncertainty isn't something to conquer, it's something to cooperate with. Instead of fighting what you can't control, focus on what you can, your patience, your mindset, and your ability to adapt. When things fall apart, ask yourself, what can I control right now? The answer may be small: taking a breath, choosing to think clearly, or simply accepting that you don't have all the answers yet. But these small decisions are powerful. Each one trains your mind to stay steady, no matter how chaotic life becomes. And sometimes, embracing uncertainty reveals opportunities you would have missed if you had clung too tightly to your old plans. Mark's story reflects this. His business didn't just recover, it evolved. The fire forced him to innovate, simplify, and focus on what mattered most. Without that setback, he might have stayed comfortable, never discovering the skills, creativity, and courage he found when chaos pushed him into new territory. When life feels uncertain, remind yourself that you've been here before. You've faced unexpected changes. You've adapted to situations you didn't plan for. And you're still standing. You don't need to predict the future to move forward. You just need to trust that you can handle whatever comes next. The next time life feels chaotic, pause. Don't rush to fix everything at once. Ask yourself, what's within my control right now? Focus on that. Even if it's as simple as staying calm, taking one clear step, or trusting that clarity will come in time. Uncertainty isn't a threat. It's an invitation to let go of what no longer serves you, to embrace what's unfolding, and to trust that no matter how unpredictable life becomes, you are strong enough to face it. 8. Welcome change as life's greatest teacher. Nothing lasts forever. No matter how tightly you hold on, everything you know, your career, your relationships, your successes, will eventually change. Most people resist this truth. They cling to what feels familiar, believing that if they just work hard enough, they can keep things exactly as they are. But life doesn't follow that script. Things will shift, not because you failed, but because change is inevitable. The Stoics believed that resisting change is like fighting the wind. The harder you push back, the more exhausted you become. But when you accept that everything, even the good things, is temporary, you stop fearing what's ahead. This mindset isn't about giving up. It's about learning to adapt. It's about recognizing that when something ends, something new begins. The key is to stop clinging to what's fading and start focusing on what's unfolding. The story of Mark illustrates this well. After the fire destroyed his workshop, he struggled for weeks, not because he didn't know what to do next, but because he couldn't let go of what he'd lost. He kept replaying old memories, reliving what used to be. Only when he accepted that his past had burned away did he find the strength to rebuild. Most people get stuck in that place, clinging to what's already gone. They dwell on the job they lost, the relationship that ended, or the plans that fell apart. But when you stay fixated on the past, you blind yourself to the opportunities that exist right now. When things change, ask yourself, what is this making room for? The end of something familiar often clears the path for something better. A career more aligned with your values, a relationship that's healthier, or a lifestyle that brings you peace. But you can only find those things if you stop chasing what's no longer meant for you. Change is uncomfortable because it forces you into the unknown. It asks you to step forward without clear answers. But uncertainty isn't a threat. It's a blank page, a chance to create something new. The Stoics believe that all loss is at its core just change. Even when something feels like it's been taken from you, what's really happening is a shift, an opportunity to begin again. When Nokia dominated the mobile industry, they believed their success was secure. But when new technology emerged, they refused to adapt. They clung to old methods, convinced that change was something they could resist. That stubbornness cost them everything. When you refuse to evolve, you trap yourself. You cling to habits, routines, and identities that no longer fit, even when they're holding you back. But when you welcome change, even when it's painful, you unlock freedom. Instead of fearing what's ending, you focus on what's possible. Instead of mourning what's gone, you embrace what's arriving. If you're facing an ending right now, whether it's the loss of a job, a failed project, or the closing of a chapter in your life, remind yourself that this isn't the end of your story. It's a transition, an invitation to rebuild stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you are today. Change isn't the enemy, resistance is. The tighter you grip what's fading, the more you suffer. But when you accept what's shifting, you open yourself to new strength, new purpose, and new beginnings. So ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? Because when you release the past, you don't lose, you gain. You gain clarity, space, and freedom to create something better than you imagined. And most importantly, you gain peace. Because you've stopped demanding that life stay the same and started trusting that whatever comes next is exactly what you need. 9. Release the weight and discover true freedom. The more you carry, the heavier life feels. People often believe that accumulating more, possessions, achievements, or status will bring them peace. But the opposite is true. The more you cling to, the more you risk losing. And the more you fear losing, the less free you become. The Stoics knew this well. They believed that true freedom comes not from adding more to your life, but from letting go of what you no longer need. They understood that peace isn't found in possessions, it's found in simplicity. When you strip away excess, you create space. Space for calm, clarity, and focus. By releasing what no longer serves you, you lighten your mental load and regain control of your mind. People often confuse letting go with giving up, but they're not the same. Letting go isn't about surrendering your ambitions or lowering your standards. It's about recognizing what's truly valuable and learning to detach from what isn't. Think about your own life. How many things do you hold on to out of fear? Old regrets, broken relationships, or endless comparisons to others. These mental burdens weigh you down far more than you realize. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from our attachment to things that are beyond our control. They knew that when you place your happiness in the hands of something external, a promotion, a relationship, or approval from others, you surrender your peace. But the moment you detach, the moment you say, I can still be whole without this, you reclaim your power. This mindset doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means valuing things without letting them control you. It's the freedom to own something without being owned by it. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack, filled with things you've convinced yourself you can't live without. But with every step, that weight pulls you down. And with each mile, you feel more exhausted. Now imagine setting that backpack down, releasing what you no longer need. The relief is instant. The weight is gone. And you can finally move forward with ease. That's what happens when you let go. Not just of physical clutter, but of mental clutter too. You don't need to carry every regret. You don't need to replay every mistake. You don't need to hold on to bitterness or resentment, because none of those things serve you anymore. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that's keeping me stuck? It could be a relationship that's draining your energy, a job that's crushing your spirit, or a belief that you're not good enough, not capable enough, or that you've already failed too many times. Letting go doesn't mean those things never mattered. It means they no longer define you. When you release what's no longer yours to carry, you gain something far more valuable: peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing your worth isn't tied to what you own, what you've achieved, or what others think of you. Marcus Aurelius once reflected on this idea, that wealth isn't about how much you have, but how little you need. True power comes from being content with less, from knowing that your happiness isn't dependent on external things. This mindset creates a quiet strength, the ability to move through life without constantly fearing what you might lose. It allows you to enjoy what you have while knowing that if it's taken away, you'll still be whole. Many people waste their energy chasing what they believe will complete them: more money, more admiration, more status. But when you step back, you realize that real fulfillment doesn't come from gaining more. It comes from needing less. The Stoics believed that simplicity isn't just a lifestyle, it's a mindset. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows they can face loss without losing themselves. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if life feels cluttered, chaotic, or heavy, stop and ask yourself, what can I let go of? Because freedom isn't about having it all, it's about having enough. And when you let go of what doesn't matter, you make room for what truly does. Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect. There will be moments of uncertainty, setbacks, and unexpected changes. But within those moments lies an opportunity to build strength, cultivate resilience, and develop inner peace. The Stoics believe that true strength isn't about controlling every outcome, it's about controlling yourself. When you embrace reality instead of resisting it, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. When you focus on your actions instead of obsessing over results, you build mental resilience. When you see adversity as a teacher rather than an enemy, you turn setbacks into stepping stones. Let go of the need to control what's beyond your reach. Instead, focus on what's within your power: your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. When you learn to trust the flow of life, you begin to see that every challenge, no matter how painful, has the potential to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Practice this daily. Start small. Pause before reacting. Remind yourself to release what's no longer serving you and find strength in stillness. Each time you choose calm over chaos, focus over fear, or courage over control, you're training your mind to stand firm, no matter what life throws your way. If you faced a moment where letting go or embracing uncertainty brought unexpected strength, I encourage you to share your story in the comments below. Your experience may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Remember, peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you have the strength to face it. Trust the flow of life. Everything unfolds exactly as it should.